who starts, who sits, and how to become the greatest of all time. This is the Fantasy G.O.A.T.
Well, week 11 is here. It's time to buckle in and make a push for the playoffs in your leagues, and we're here to help. That's why we're here on the Fantasy G.O.A.T. I'm Mike Davis. That's Jason Feinberg. Jason, I literally get this. I literally won 3 leagues last week with a margin of less than 4 points.
Wow. You were sweating it out until the end.
Until the end. I mean, so it's nerve-wracking, but I'm grateful to come out on top.
For sure, for sure. I'm a little under the weather, and I think it all began when Saquon Barkley and Devonta Smith got me not that many points.
Listen,
that's when it started.
Philly played so good in real life that they couldn't, translate it to fantasy football. But coming up on this week's show, we're breaking down the waiver wire with Ritchie from Full-Time Fantasy. Plus, Dr. Natwa is telling us what to do with Tyreek Hill and more. And Sam Argier joins the set for a brand new GOATcast. But first, it's time for a game of this or that. So, all right, Jason, we're going to start right now with this segment a little differently. Indianapolis is turning back, actually, to Anthony Richardson at quarterback, moving off Joe Flacco. How should fantasy managers feel about Indianapolis and, guys like Josh Downs, Taylor, Michael Pittman, all those guys? Would you feel happy with this move if you own that stock?
No, and to use a football term, you punt. Right, you don't really want to play any of those guys. Josh Downs, who was once a running back, a wide receiver 2, is maybe not even in wide receiver 3 territory.
It's tough. I mean, Alec Pierce was playing consistent and all that stuff, but it's puzzling to me that Shane Steichen can't get this figured out, because he was the QB guru in Philadelphia that when Hurts was having that MVP type season. So listen, it's do or die now for Anthony Richardson as a top 5 pick. If he can't come back from this, then the career might be over.
And that's why they're starting him now, because they have to find out what they have in him. And they're not going to look. They're not winning. They're not winning the big game. So might as well try them now.
100%. All right, Jason. So let's do this. This or that. Who are you starting this week? Would you rather start Russell Wilson versus Baltimore or Bo Nix versus Atlanta? 2 popular streaming options this week.
It's funny because I thought of both of those quarterbacks to go up against you for this week. So I like them both. Man, you can really throw against that Baltimore secondary, can't you? So I think Russ.
I think I agree with you. Get this. Russ has been QB3, QB24, and QB9 in the 3 starts he's had. Obviously, they're 3-0 with him in Pittsburgh. Nix, it's iffy. He has at least 61 yards rushing in the last 6 games, so I think that's the dynamic that makes Bo Nix attractive. But I think this Pittsburgh-Baltimore game is going to be a shootout, and I think it's just going to be chucking it up, and I would agree with you in terms of Russ. But finally here, Jason, let's talk the running back dilemma in Denver. Okay, so Audric Estime, who we're going to be talking about him a little later on with Ritchie, but he's taken over the backfield from Javonte Williams, who is a pretty popular guy. Who would you rather have this week and really going forward for the rest of the season?
Tajay Spears. No, I don't know what to do with Sean Payton. He hasn't made up his mind on who he's gonna. I can see this week him going back to Javonte.
Well, Javonte last week had 1 carry for 1 yard. Insane. Whereas Estime, a rookie from Notre Dame, great player, 14 carries, 53 yards. I mean, you need a little bit more production. I think Javonte's got 3.8 yards rushing per carry, so it's just not good enough, for that team.
I wouldn't go with either of them, but if I had to choose, it would be Estime.
Okay, so we're on the same right there. Okay, so a lot of cohesion between you and I today on this or that.
All right, but are you ready, Mike? Because now Mariah Janos is ready to beat up on us now. But I squeaked by, I think, this week.
Yes, you did. I'm ready as I'll ever be for a segment like this. Mariah Janos from Beat the Odds is here to share the result from last week's GOAT lineup. Hey, Mariah.
Hello, you guys. Yeah, Week 10 featured crying New Yorkers, banged-up teams getting healthy, new coaches making their debut, and their teams making them look good in said debut. Kansas City finding an unfathomable way to win again, and somehow with just 3 wins, Miami is in playoff contention. So let's go over the results and how the occurrences I just mentioned impact your lineups. Jason, you started with quarterback Aaron Rodgers, 5 points. Burp. Running back Tyrone Tracy, 19.4. Very nice. Wide receiver Quentin Johnston, 10.4 points. And then we got tight end Jatavian Sanders, 8.8 points for a total of 43.6 points. As for Mike, Daniel Jones, 13.6 points. Kyron Williams, 12.2. Justin Jefferson, 9.8, which was shocking.
Yeah.
And Jake Ferguson, 5.4 for a total of 41 points. So Jason is the winner for the second week in a row, just edging you out there, Mike. But it was far from impressive, okay? For whatever reason, when it came to the quarterback position, you both decided to go for the 2 most hated men in the state of New York. Danny Dimes is really Daniel Dumpster Fire, shut out in the first half by the worst defense in the league. Fans were just trying to enjoy the game while eating a little breakfast after that performance. They're up chucking their eggs. And once you suffer a loss to Carolina, that's a sign you've hit rock bottom, truly. We know it here in Vegas too well. And Aaron Ayahuasca Rodgers is no better. At least he lost to a solid Arizona team, but sitting at 3-7, Rodgers and Gang Green are officially going down in history as the most overhyped, under-delivering team in football. Now, I will say a win for Mike was all but guaranteed, playing Justin Jefferson, but Jacksonville, of all teams, figures out how to contain him.
Crazy.
And that just killed the momentum for you. But they implemented that too high safety coverage, which resulted in 48 total yards for Jefferson, his lowest of the season. Sam Darnold then throwing 3 picks, all of which were intended for JJ. So that's a pretty grueling performance to watch when it should have been just like a cakewalk. It should have been like an easy 20 points there. But it was eye-opening, and I know, Mike, you can't use Jefferson again, but for those at home who have him rostered, I have a feeling we might see a little more cover 2 defense against Minnesota now that teams have seen what Jacksonville was able to accomplish. Maybe it was just a rough night, but it is something to note because Darnold's throwing picks, low stats from Jefferson. Just keep an eye on that. But my message to you both heading into Week 11 is simply be better.
Yes, be better.
I thought it was off to a great start when I think Jatavian Sanders was the first touchdown of the whole day.
Yes.
And I'm like, wow, I'm off to a really good start. And then Aaron Rodgers.
That was a sneaky good pick. All right, so we just got to be better.
Just be better.
Be better.
You know?
Write that down.
Okay. I'll try to remember it. Thank you, Mariah. Of course, I always feel wonderful after that.
Yeah, right.
All right, guys. Up next, the GOAT of fantasy doctors, Dr. Nithin Natwa, is joining the show. Expert fantasy medical advice is right around the corner. All right, welcome back to the Fantasy GOAT. Right now, the great Dr. Nithin Natwa is with us to break down the latest in injury news. He's on a train. This is not an Agatha Christie novel. This is not, John Candy and Steve Martin.
Right. He still should be with us when he goes through a tunnel on the other side.
Right, yes, because usually somebody goes missing once that happens. All right, but let's get right to it, Doc. So let's start with Tyreek Hill. This is a guy, I drafted this dude. I mean, listen, 2 leagues I got him in. I need him to play like that first-round pick we all know and love. What's his outlook like for Week 11?
So injury-wise, I'm not overly concerned about Tyreek Hill. There's only a couple types of sprains of your wrist that you can both get surgery on, but also play through. And that's mostly a distal radial ulnar joint sprain, which is one of the ligaments that connects those 2 long bones in your arm. So those 2 long bones right there. A lot of people might be wondering if it's like Joe Burrow's sprain, and that's more of a scapholunate ligament, which is a much more dangerous sprain, and you can't play through that. So that's not what Tyreek Hill is playing through. I would say that injury-wise, I'm not overly concerned with him. DeAndre Hopkins had this sprain, and he put up a career season that year.
Wow.
But we haven't really seen Tyreek do that well recently throughout the course of this season. So while I don't have injury concerns for him, I would entertain trade offers for him as we come up on that trade deadline.
Yeah, good idea. I have them also. A lot of wrist injuries this season. Interesting. Doc, KC has been happy with Kareem Hunt, but it looks like Isaiah Pacheco is on his way to returning. What's the latest on him, you think?
So I'm really high on Pacheco, actually. A lot of people think that since Hunt's been doing so well that it's going to be at least an RBVC, but I haven't seen KC use a committee approach in a while. Whenever they have a guy, I feel like they go to that guy. And Pacheco, he's an emotional part of this team. They showed how invested they were with him early on in the season. I think he's really motivated to come back. I think that he will require a ramp-up phase week 13, which is when I expect him back. But I would say for the playoffs, I think he's going to be the bell cow back. Bone heals back better than before after a break and without any associated ligament or cartilage damage. I'm really high on Pacheco for the fantasy football playoffs.
Okay, and lastly, Doc, from the pride of Rutgers to the pride of Clemson, Trevor Lawrence, the former #1 pick, really can't catch a break. I mean, it's not good for Jacksonville when they're playing Mac Jones. What's up with him? We already know he's out this week, but for the rest of the season, what do you think about Trevor Lawrence?
So they also talked about him as being another player that he might get surgery or he might play through it. And then they told us that he's got an AC joint sprain. And it has to be a pretty severe AC joint sprain where that clavicle is shifted significantly out of place. So that's that top long bone on the top right part of the screen. And when that happens, then he'll obviously be out for the season. It seems kind of weird that they're just holding him out because at this point in time, it's just whether or not they're going to do surgery and whether he's going to be out. So I would think that he's probably not going to be playing the rest of the season. Their season doesn't seem like it's going anywhere significant. It doesn't seem like it's worthwhile to risk injury to him. So, I mean, I can't comment on whether he's going to get surgery, but I don't expect much from Lawrence going forward this season.
Okay. All right, Doc. We got to ask, where are you headed right now, Dr. Natwa?
So I work in the suburbs of Chicago, so I take the Metro in between the two sites.
I used to do that. I used to take the Purple Line. I used to take a bunch of different.
Is that
when I was at Northwestern, from Evanston to downtown, I used to do that.
Is that the one where they go, this is Division?
Yes.
This is Armitage.
And it's this is Armitage. And it's usually
that's the L. That's the elevated.
Oh, that's the L. Oh, okay.
It's usually like voiced by like Idris Elba or something, or like the guy, somebody with a really beautiful voice.
So that's
like
the L. He's on the
Anthony
train.
Hopkins.
Okay,
Yeah.
Right. All right. Thanks, Doc.
Thanks, Doc. Go follow at Fantasy Docs on social for the latest and greatest. And make sure you get it punched. I think I see a guy. The guy coming around with snacks and trying to punch the tickets. All right.
Yeah. He actually came during this video, so.
All right, Doc. Go follow at Fantasy Docs for the latest and greatest up-to-the-minute fantasy injury news. Good luck this week, Dr. Natwa. All right, and don't go anywhere. When we return, Ian Ritchie, he's not on a train.
No.
But he's with us. He has the waiver wire moves you need to make. Welcome back to the Fantasy GOAT. We're joined now by Ian Ritchie of Full Time Fantasy.
Yeah, good to see you, Ian. All right, let's start with your #1 guy to pick up heading into Week 11.
Yeah, heading into Week 11, I really like Audric Estime. And I think Sean Payton has really telegraphed it to us. He's told us he wants to use Estime more. Estime is a rookie out of Notre Dame. He was taken in the 5th round. And he actually backed up Kyron Williams when he was in college. He averaged 6.5 yards a carry his senior year. And he's a mover. I think that Peyton is getting tired of not maximizing their carries and the yards they're getting. Estime was given an opportunity this week, had 14 carries, and was really impressive. He did a great job. Sean Payton has told us he wants him a lot more involved moving forward, and I think he's a great opportunity, especially in a non-PPR league. He's not going to catch a lot of passes. So in a non-PPR league, he's very valuable. In a PPR league, he's definitely worth still picking up and grabbing because he's going to get most of the carries in Denver.
All right, so next up, you got a rookie coming really alive in San Francisco. Why do you like Ricky Pearsall so much? I mean, this is a guy who got shot early
not
in the
that long
season.
ago.
Ricky Pearsall is playing great football. And like you mentioned, he's a rookie from Florida. They took him in San Fran took him in the 1st round. They believe in him. He runs a 4.4. He's got a lot of speed. You wouldn't pick that up until you see him on the field running away from guys. But like you mentioned, he got robbed for his Rolex watch in San Francisco, was shot. Got a real slow start to the season, obviously. And now he's back and he's at full speed. And since Ayuk's out, he is a very reliable target for Brock Purdy. They're an explosive offense. Purdy put up 310 yards passing last week, and Pearsall is going to be a big recipient of those catches. Debo Samuel's slowing down a little, and Pearsall is a guy you can count on for the rest of the season. His legs are fresh, and they are going to utilize him. He's a great player in that system.
All right, and who's the last guy you have for us, Ian?
You got to grab him. This is the time to start looking for opportunities that are in the future because you got to plan for the playoffs and the closing stretch. And so Isaiah Pacheco got hurt at the beginning of the year. They kind of played around with other guys, Carson Steele, Kareem Hunt, Samaje Perine. Pacheco's coming back in a couple of weeks. And in that offense, he's not going to take over the entire offensive backfield because Kareem Hunt has performed very well while he's been out. But Pacheco will 100% have a very solid role on this team moving forward. It should help their offense a lot. And in order to plan ahead, you want to take a shot on guys that the rest of the people in your league aren't necessarily on yet. And the second he becomes available and is back and activated, everybody will be chasing him. So it's a good opportunity to plan ahead and try and grab him now. So I would try and grab Pop off the waiver wire if he's still there and he's not on IR.
All right. Popular guy this week.
Yeah.
Isaiah Pacheco.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, all right. Thank you so much, Ian. We'll see you next time.
And it is week 11. The GOAT cast is live, and we've got the coldest game on tap and also where the best chance of showers will be. All coming up in your week 11 GOAT cast right after the break.
All right, time to talk weather now. Let's go to meteorologist Sam Argier for his week's GOAT cast, I should say.
Yes, hey Sam.
Hey guys, and who would have thought last week the biggest weather story was sun in the eyes of CeeDee Lamb, but it was. Now we've got your weather headlines looking at the week 11 GOAT cast. Chilly up in the Rocky Mountains. Denver will be the coldest game this weekend and the best chance of some showers in the Bay Area of San Francisco. Seattle bringing some of that wet weather a little farther south than in Northern California this weekend. But no sun glare in Dallas this week because, well, it's a Monday night game coming up, and it's a Battle of Texas. Houston heading to Dallas this weekend and into Monday night, I should say. Here is what the weather map looks like late Sunday morning, early afternoon, depending on your time zone. I have to tell you, the early games, no major weather obstacles. The warm game, of course, down in Miami, where Las Vegas will visit, 76 degrees there. We have a slight chance of a few showers in Chicago for the divisional matchup against Green Bay, low 60s. Everybody else in the 60s and 50s. Up in New England, 53 degrees in Foxborough. We'll go to the afternoon games. As I mentioned, Denver, one of the colder games, will be starting to get into those upper 30s by the time the game wraps up into Sunday evening. I mentioned San Francisco. That's our best chance of some showers. We got a storm slamming into the west coast. San Francisco will kind of be on the southern edge of that storm, so not anticipating a washout rain like they'll be seeing up in the Pacific Northwest, but a few scattered showers are possible. And then Buffalo and Kansas City, cool in Buffalo at 52. Sunday night game indoors in LA at 58 degrees. And then there is the game in Texas Monday night, Dallas and Houston. So Jerry World will be sun-free this weekend. And I'm sorry if you do have CeeDee Lamb. I mean, that cost some people points on last week. So if it's too soon, I apologize.
How crazy is that? I mean, that stadium, they go through everything. It's $1 billion, right?
Right.
And then there's this issue with sun glare.
Yeah.
I mean,
You have hail in Arizona on an indoor, mostly indoor stadium. And I remember back last season when I went to a game at SoFi, they had that weather delay, and that's indoors. But there was lightning that could come in from the one window.
Yeah, because they've got that little opening at
Yeah.
SoFi. You know, usually I focus on the outdoor games, but it feels like the indoor games have had more action in the weather department this season.
So puzzling, but you know what? You always give us the insight that we need, Sam. So thank you so much. We appreciate it. Guys, we'll be right back after a short break. We got GOAT lineup next.
This is the Fantasy GOAT.
All right, well, before we go, let's do GOAT lineup. So, Jason, you have taken control of the leader at top of the standings at 5-4 right now. I'm at 4-5, so I'm looking to get back to even with you. So it's a big week for us, but just a reminder, everybody, this is how GOAT lineup works for all you new kids at home. So each week, Jason and I, we face off head-to-head in standard scoring by selecting one quarterback, one running back, one wide receiver, and lastly, one tight end. But here's the catch. We can only use a player one time all year long. And last year, Jason was victorious, and he had a great GOAT trophy that I'm vying for right now. So here's my lineup as I'm facing you this week, week 11. So I'm going with, actually, no, Jason, you're going to kick us off first.
Oh, okay. You want me first?
Yeah.
Okay, so remember I was telling you that I was deciding between Russ and Bo Nix to play against you. I couldn't choose, so I'm like, you know what? I want to save him. So, and Justin Herbert.
This is the time to play him.
Yeah, with LA, he's been hot. He's been throwing it a lot, and it should be a shootout against Cincinnati. So I kind of like Justin Herbert this week. Wanted to go with a solid running back. They're up against Vegas, so Devon Achane, I'll take him. Since I didn't go with Russ, I figured I'll go with George Pickens, his #1 wide receiver. And Bowers with Vegas from that same game with Achane, he's had a week to rest, haven't played him yet. In fact, I haven't played a lot of the good tight ends yet.
Yeah, you held on.
Yeah, so I'm going to probably start now. So I got Brock Bowers going first.
Yeah, you got me beat there. That's a really good lineup, though, this week. I love Pickens this week. I think that's a good play. Bowers, Herbert's looking good. So you're coming with a good lineup. Yeah, so it's going to be tough to beat them. But here's what I got for week 11. So I'm going to play Tua. You know, I think he built off, I'm looking to see if he's going to build off that big win against LA last week. Hopefully he can throw the ball downfield and get Hill and Waddle going, and we'll see. I mean, it's good for the league if they can do that, and I'm hoping he can play. Mixon, I got him going against a bad Dallas team.
Sure.
I think they're going to try to get the run game going early. And hopefully he can keep up with all the production he's been having all year long. And then Juwan Jennings, I mean, listen, every time you watch San Fran play, this guy is making plays. And, you know, with Ayuk out, yes, Pearsall, as Ian said, could be the guy who steps in to fill the void, but there's definitely a connection between Purdy and Jennings, so I wanted to get him going. And, of course, I got to go with my man from Miami, David Njoku, so I love that guy. Hopefully he can get going as well. So it's a good week, trying to get back to 50-50 with you, but you might take that 6-4 lead.
Jennings is going nowhere.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter who comes into the lineup, so that's a big one. And then Mixon is really solid for you.
Of course. All right, guys, good luck this week. We'll see you next time.